Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. I'm back with my pandemic projects. This one, I don't enjoy working on these reels. I got to say that from the beginning. I call these my micro screwdriver reels because I need to use the smaller screwdrivers in order to get the smaller screws out, and I don't have the hand strength, and sometimes it's just problematic for me. But other than that, it's an okay reel. This one is just kind of slugging along here. It's tired. We've seen these reels before. This one's been sitting in a box or something. I got a lot of dirt all over it. I imagine somebody probably put it to the side. There you go. Well, the bell's still flipping. Probably put it to the side because it was sluggish, and it's probably sat there for years. So as part of my pandemic projects, I hope everybody's staying well, staying home, staying safe, and watching my videos. We're going to take this one apart. I'll show you how it's made, and hopefully we'll find out why this thing is as sluggish as it is, and go put it back to fishing, or at least get it ready to go back to fishing. As those of you that watch know, I like to remove the exterior parts first, and start by taking off the drag adjuster button and the spool. There's your drag washer. The rotor is dirty. We'll see if we can get to the rotor. It's going to require removing the shaft. And then I'll take the handle off. The handle is just a simple screw-on handle. Comes off, interestingly, clockwise. So these are small bladed screwdrivers. You can't get it in there with a bigger screwdriver. You need the small one. And I've gone ahead and soaked these with a penetrating oil. In this case, it's CRC Power Lube. I haven't been in this reel, so I always take the precaution of trying to do that. And then it's just a matter of finding the right size slot. If you go too small, you're going to rip this screw. If you go too large, you'll never be able to turn it. So somewhere in between. Ah, there you go, white knuckles. I got this one. Hopefully I'll get the others. Here's a tip while you're at it. If you have trouble with hand strength, set the screwdriver into the slot of the screw. Then grab it anywhere if you want. Hold pressure on the top of the screwdriver and use the pump pliers for additional leverage. Let's see if I just can't white knuckle these out at the moment. Yeah, okay, we got two. Third time's a charm. So you can kind of see there's a lot of hand strength involved in this, but we've got them. And I think credit maybe to that the Power Lube or the penetrating oil. You have to break that seal, and if that seal has been sitting there any length of time, it's tough. Okay, the other thing I like to do, the anti-reverse dog is on here. I like to trip that before I go any further. I like to remove that so I don't pop the springs when I'm pulling the main gear out. And also notice the orientation of this dial. It's got a triangular set of screws here. The Mitchell 304 is down below, so if it was hanging from a rod, it's kind of staring you parallel to the ground. So just it's always important to note these things when you go to reassemble. So take pictures along the way. Here I'm taking the pictures with the video camera, but take pictures so that you know the orientation. It probably will still line up and work in other directions there, but might as well get it right. Okay, we should be able to just pull that off, oh boy, there you go. Well, so here's why we've got what we've got. It looks like not only do we have dried grease in there, but it looks like we have broken fishing line all over the place here. I'm not even sure how fishing line got in there, but it apparently, oh yeah, look at that. We got a bird's nest of fishing line in there. So that's what's causing this one to perform poorly. So we'll get at that, and hopefully we'll make it good as new again. I noticed that I did have a little bit of a sluggishness on the bail on the return, probably due to lack of lubrication. I noticed the spring is doing fine in here, so I'm not going to play around with the spring, but I am going to hit that with the WD-40, or in this case the CRC Power Lube. I'm going to do the same on the anchor point on the other side, and I'm also going to do the same here on the trip lever. I didn't see an issue with the trip lever, but it doesn't hurt to just let all of that soak while we do the rest. Okay, that micro screwdriver is not done yet. There's two screws that are holding that little shaft on. I think I actually have to go to the smaller one. I think that's why I have that out. Just gonna see if I can't clean that up so you can see. There's two screws there. This one looks like it's been chewed up a little bit. Okay, oh, we're getting lucky. You'll notice I'm taking all these small screws and I'm putting them into a parch tray. You don't want to lose these things. If you do, it's going to be quite a hunt to go find a replacement screw. Oh boy. Alright, well we got that off. Okay. So there you go. That's the main issues with this. Once we take that off, we'll take the rotor off, because there's obviously something that somehow got a lot of line in here for whatever reason. And then we'll be able to clean up the body, and we'll be able to get this thing back fishing again. Alright, so that's your holder for your axle shaft. Then your axle shaft should pull out, which it did. Now we have a little, looks like an 8mm nut there, holding the pinion gear on. So let's see if I got that small wrench in here. I have the small wrench, but I don't think I'm going to get it. No, it actually looks like a 7mm. I'm going to turn the camera up. Let's see what I got here. I don't have a 7. Nope. I'm going to have to find a deep socket. I'm going to turn the camera off. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I don't have the right tool, but I have a tool that works, so we're going to go with that. This happens to be a 7/32, I think, 11/32 nut driver, but it fits. I'm sure that's not the one that they had, but it works. Sometimes it's better to be lucky and just have something that works as opposed to maybe the one that they actually used to install. Taking the nut off, and in my parts tray, there's a little ramp that trips the bail. And I'm taking the rotor off. There's nothing under here. This rotor is the same setup as the Mitchell 300. It just has a base on the bottom of it. But I do want to make sure it's clean, and since I saw the broken line in here, I wanted to make sure that we didn't have broken line wrapped around the rest of this, causing that sluggishness. Okay, there was a little shim washer. It just came off with that as well. I'm keeping those parts in my tray. I sprayed this earlier. Now I can come in with a towel or a cotton swab or some other things. Get some of that dried stuff out of there. Use the cotton swab. It's pretty obvious this reel's been sitting for some time now. Let's just work that. Oh, the bail just loosened up perfectly with that. Just a little bit of WD-40, which is another indication that it's just been sitting forever. Okay, that works fine. All right, just do a little bit more, just see if I can't get some of that little surface stuff off of there without spending a lot of time doing it. All right, so this can go back on. There's no real issue there. I thought maybe we would have that wrapped line underneath, which we didn't. Just going to check the teeth. It doesn't hurt to take a wire brush and run it over those teeth. And if there's anything that's in there, sand, dried grease, whatever, you just use that wire brush, it'll work. I'm going to use fishing reel grease. In this case, I'm using a blue grease. It's Penn Precision Reel Grease. Yes, it's a Mitchell reel. Just use fishing reel grease. Doesn't matter whose it is. Okay. Just going to lay that off to the side for a moment. I'm going to pull the main gear out of this one now. The side plate is clean. We're in good shape with that. Notice the dog orientation. If you did pop it off, there's a dog here. Spring wraps around that side and rests on this so that it pushes the spring back. The second part of the spring is actually sitting in this little hole here, in case you've popped that off and were wondering. Just clean the dried grease off the back. It doesn't look like there's much here. Maybe that's the reason why it's sluggish too. Not much grease going on in this particular reel. Again, that's probably age and not being used. Okay, so we can go ahead and put this side plate back together. That's why I like that dog in the off position when I go to reinstall here. It'll merge in easily, and you won't have to worry too much about the dislodging the dog. Same thing here. You want to make sure that your teeth on this side are clean. Looks like there's a little bit of grease hanging on here. Let's just get that off, but otherwise it just looks like this one's been run dry, in addition to having that fishing line tangled up. Just going to put this off to the side. When I reinstall this separate from the side case. So I'll just put them in there for now. Let's get over to this mess, clean all of this out. So, hey, we can use those micro screwdrivers again, can't we? Just get something as a scraper, whether it's a screwdriver or whatever else fits your style. And just get the junk out of there. I'm trying to see if this, I don't know how, this is so unusual to get line inside the reel. What happened there, but obviously we got a bird's nest of fishing line there. And I'd like to find out how it entered in. But we'll make sure it exits before we go any further. And a good pile of it. That one wrapped around the stud. I thought I was feeling some resistance there. And of course, it's not going to work well on the performance of this if it's hiding in the collar there where the rotor is going to spin. All right, now we can just get the rest of it as just dried grease now. And get all of that out. You can use that power lube again just to kind of loosen that grease up if you like. You can use paper towels. This is kind of tight quarters for paper towels, but you can use paper towels. You can use those cotton swabs. Do a good job of cleaning it up. Chances are this reel hasn't been opened up in years, so do the best you can to keep it clean. That dried grease, sometimes folks will ask me, you know, hey, it's sitting on the side of a case. Why do you bother? Well, that can work itself free and get into the operation of the reel. And it really doesn't take that much longer, as you're seeing just by watching this video. It doesn't take that much longer to do the job right as opposed to rushed. There's no reason to rush something like this. Hey, this reel's probably been waiting for a tune-up now for years, so now it's finally getting one. Do it right. Okay, that's your body, and it's nice and clean. Now we can come back and do the rotor. I'm going to put a little grease on the top there where it's going to lay in with the shaft. Boy, I got that broken line everywhere. I'm just going to grab my brush. Just put a little bit up top here where it's going to kind of come in. Then we can grab the body. A little bit of dirt there. Might as well get that off too while we're at it. Now I'll grab the body. That ramp had a flat side to it. So you want to find the flat side of the stud. There we go. And we had that little nut that I used the nut driver on. I'm forgetting there's a shim washer under that ramp. Let's go put that shim washer back in. That's what the beauty of a parts tray is. I would have missed that shim washer if I was just kind of doing this maybe with parts scattered across. I looked in the tray there and sure enough there was the washer. I can grab that nut driver. You can use a socket for sure. That's what I was actually going for when I found this one was working. Oh, look at that. Well, it's turning nice already. Okay. Grab the those are two parts that don't belong in this tray. Grab the steel wool, clean off that shaft. See, we had a little bit of line there. A little bit of blue grease onto the shaft. Flat side is going to go facing outwards so that you can put a little bit of grease in the shaft. It's going to face outwards so that you can connect that little dial where the stud from the main gear is going to ride. Remember, it was going up and down this way, and we had the two small screws. Just going to lay them on my table. And grab my smaller of my two micro drivers. Our viewers just told us that if you put a little dab of blue grease onto there, you can generally hold that screw while you're trying to get it set. Find it works. Don't tighten it all the way down because you got to align the bottom part. So just get it started. You can tighten them both down once they're in. You don't want the one to go askew. We'll try that grease trick again. Oh, I was 1 for 2 on the grease, I guess. Not terrible, but could be better. Let's see if I can get it in there with my fingers. Get started. I thought I did. Alright, well, at least we're in the channel. So again, the reel's fine in design. The only problem I have with them is that the darn screws over age, they tend to get set real well, and if you don't have the hand strength, it becomes problematic. Okay, that's in the middle there. So when we go to reinstall then, I'm going to do projects in the future. You guys are going to see me with broken line from that. I'm going to get some grease into the main channels of the gear. A little bit on the face because that's going to work as a eccentric. And then the way I set it is I take the stud and I get it into that so that it's seated properly. Then I put the gear body on. And remember, that was in the downside, so I slip that over the stud, and then I can align the holes, and I know that I'm in that channel for the axle to drive up and down. Next up then is the 3 screws. I'm going to put 2 of them on my desk, and I'm going to grab the bigger driver, bigger small driver. That's one of those oxymorons, right? The large micro driver. Doesn't seem like I have the holes lined up. You can see how some watchmakers designed fishing reels. Watch and clock makers and jewelers in the early 1900s started taking their trade in building fishing reels, and you can see why they had that skill, because a lot of this stuff is kind of fine-tuning. It's not the hammers and the nails, is it? It's much more refined than that. All right. And we'll just go put that spool back on, put the handle back on. We saw that the bail's tripping nicely now with just a little bit of that penetrating oil to loosen it up. You really don't need to do anything with this bail. There's no roller bearings on it or that. If you want, you got a spring there, so oiling springs doesn't generally do much. This is just a dead end on this side. This is a loop, but if you want to put a little oil back there, you can do that. Grab that handle again. Let's make sure we can drive it. Oh yeah, we can drive it a whole lot easier. Now we can put the anti-reverse back on. And there we go. Nice anti-reverse dog going there. I hit this earlier with some cleaning. Let's just take what we can of the surface off of this. This is kind of a sealed bearing up top here. It's got 2 screws on it, but they're not anything that's going to be able to be taken off with a screwdriver. So I don't, they may be pressed on there or something. The drag washer really is this piece on the stud here, the axle shaft, and you press down in order to make that work. Just make sure we're tight. And that's it. This is the Mitchell 304. It's a reel. It's probably the 1950s, I'm thinking. Don't know exactly, but I guess would be 50. Oh, we got a little chirp in there. That usually means there's some junk on the outside of the spool. 1950-ish, early 60s perhaps. Spinning reels didn't come into play. There's a little rough spot here. Spinning reels didn't come into play until after World War II. So the earlier ones were late 1940s, which, like Langley was one of them that came out of the war and decided to use the technology that they had developed in making airplane parts to make a spinning reel. They were available in France earlier, and of course this is a French reel, so this one might have been around the wartime, not sure, but my guess would be this is late 50s, early 60s without doing any research on it. I do remember my father-in-law having one of these. Oh, it's a little bit of a chirp there. Oh, we'll work on that after the, oh, there you go. Well, a little bit of a chirp. We'll work on that after the video. But for the most part, that's your Mitchell 304, how to take it apart, how it's made. And maybe I'll do another video on how to get rid of the chirp. But there's either something riding on the inside of the rotor or on the outside of the spool. But we'll go fix that. In the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed that. If you have questions on this particular reel or are stuck on a repair project and want to ask me something to help you get unstuck, then please go ahead and leave that in the comments section. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to go see more of these. And if you have a reel on a project that you'd like to have worked on, but maybe you're not interested in doing it yourself, then write me a note on my email, which follows on my business card. I'll be happy to supply you with some details on how I can work on that reel for you. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. As I said earlier, stay safe, stay home, stay getting ready for fishing, and this will break, and we will be out there fishing again. Take care.